pulled off an amazing 80s party last year. Off the hook!
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 cringiest things from the 80s.
I think the new Coke is too sweet. I like the old Coke better.
For this list, we're looking at the most embarrassing cultural trends and fads from the 1980s. What trend from the 80s makes you cringe the most? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Geometric patterned shirts. If clothes are meant to make a statement, the message with these shirts seemed to be, hey, check out how ridiculous I look. For some reason, people in the 80s decided that shirts with bright colors, covered in all sorts of shapes, were the height of fashion.
They have this one shirt that costs $1,000 because the pattern's so wild. I want that one so bad.
But these shirts looked more like they belonged in a modern art museum than on anyone's body. If you're going to an 80s-themed party, a geometric patterned shirt will help you look the part. Otherwise, it'll probably just make you look like a total square.
That's how they value the shirt. The more the lines crisscross and the patterns overlap.
Number 9. Outdated computers.
Watch this.
It's hard to believe there was a time when it wasn't the norm to have your own computer. In the 80s, the popularity and sales of home computers started taking off, showing that owning a computer wasn't just for geeks.
What are you going to use it for mostly?
Well, probably schoolwork, and because they have like cartridges that could teach you stuff.
For instance, you could play some low-quality video games, write papers, and okay, there wasn't much more than that.
You take this, the program on this tape cassette, you put it in the tape recorder, it feeds the information into the computer.
The processing speeds were ludicrously slow, and the clunky designs were anything but attractive.
People I've talked to say that it takes you longer to do something by putting it into a computer and calling it up again than if you just kept simple records yourself in the house.
It was all very impressive and exciting at the time, but like most technology, they soon showed their age. Number 8. New Coke. When we think of soft drinks, we think of Coca-Cola. But in the early 80s, rival Pepsi started to attract more customers in supermarkets, and Coke was losing ground.
We gave America a choice, and more people said, Coke is it.
The soda giant developed a new formula for their famous cola, calling it New Coke.
How do you even drink that? Because it's delicious.
What? This sweeter take on the beverage arrived with plenty of fanfare and marketing. But it didn't take long for the backlash to start.
I like Coke and the old Coke.
Well, I did like the old better, the old Coke, and I'm glad they're bringing it back.
Less than 3 months after New Coke's debut, the company announced the return of Coca-Cola Classic.
We're trying to start a grassroots campaign to get the old Coke back.
Some theorized that the new formula was simply a ploy to drive sales when the old formula returned.
Sweeter, bolder, better. You're insane.
Coke may have stumbled a bit, but ultimately, they came out on top. Number 7. Clocks on chains. A wristwatch is a great way to look fashionable while also keeping track of the time.
It's like you ripped this off the wall of a waiting room outside a doctor's office.
But a clock on a chain is a bit much. Rapper and Public Enemy hype man Flavor Flav popularized this trend, though we didn't exactly see many others using timepieces as necklaces. In a 1994 interview with MTV, the rapper said he started with stopwatches and escalated to clocks. He also said that wearing the clocks represented the value of time in our lives.
Time is heavy, man. Time is heavy.
It became his signature look that he still rocks today.
I dialed 911 a long time ago. Don't you see how late they're reacting?
Number 6. Swatch watches. Remember what we said about wristwatches being fashionable? Well, that's not always the case. During the rise of digital watches, swatches were meant to make analog wristwatches cool again.
I want my Swatch!
This Swiss line of watches came in an array of colors, and it became trendy to wear multiple different colored watches at the same time. And what's cooler than that? We just wanted to stand out. And Swatch ads made us feel like we'd be treated like absolute royalty with these watches.
Betty Finn was a true friend, and I sold her out for a bunch of Swatch dogs and Diet Coke heads.
Ultimately, though, we just ended up looking like total dorks. But hey, at least it helped with our punctuality, right?
You better swatch yourself at Macy's Bambergers.
Number 5. Betamax. If you grew up in the 80s, or even the 90s, you probably remember buying and renting movies on VHS.
This from Blockbuster Video.
But do you remember Betamax? Before VHS became the home video format of choice, it was in a rivalry with Sony. Betamax was actually launched first in 1975, and its picture quality was arguably superior.
What may be no big deal to some people may be a big deal to you. That's why NEC makes both VHS and Beta.
But it had some drawbacks, like its more expensive VCRs and reduced recording space. This allowed VHS to get the upper hand. VHS soon took the lead and rendered Beta obsolete. Maybe they should have called it Alphamax?
Oh no! Beta!
Number 4. Aquanet. The big hair of the 80s didn't get that way by pure luck. We had to use plenty of product, such as Aquanet hairspray, to reach maximum poofy potential.
Silk goes to your head in Aquanet shampoo and conditioner with silk protein.
But while we hoped to look like pop icons and rock stars, our expectations didn't quite meet reality. With the amount of spray used, it was all but impossible to notice anything but our hair. And did we mention its strong scent? Private and public restrooms alike reeked of Aquanet. Bigger may not have actually been better, but it was the dominant style for a time.
And then her date gives her a knowing smile of admiration on her confident smile. Aquanet. Arrive in style.
Number 3. Shoulder pads. In the business world, what you wear can impact how you're perceived and what opportunities are available for you. So, working women in the 80s started wearing suits with shoulder pads as a way of saying they are just as capable as any man. Influential figures like Margaret Thatcher and Dynasty star Joan Collins exuded strength and confidence while rocking shoulder pads.
Things changed.
But big shoulders eventually started to look goofy rather than inspiring, and became another fashion footnote of the 80s. However, shoulder pads have made a comeback among fashionistas in the late 2010s and early 2020s. Number 2. Just say no. Drug addiction is an extremely complicated issue that we may never fully understand. But we do know that it can't just be stopped with a 3-word slogan.
Just say no.
The Just Say No campaign, coined and popularized by First Lady Nancy Reagan, simplified this complex matter, ignoring the many reasons people turn to substances. While it did create further awareness of drug dependency, there's no evidence to indicate that it actually made a marked difference in overall drug use.
I get angry just thinking about it makes me mad. Little kids doing drugs, it turns my stomach.
It also may have furthered the idea of addiction as a moral issue rather than a health one. The intentions may have been good, but the results were lacking.
You kids still shouldn't mess with that crap. But everybody's doing it.
And where they at?
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. Acid wash jeans. We were obsessed with bleaching our denim. Pastel shirts and ties with suits. We all wanted to be Sonny Crockett.
Where the hell you think you're going?
Find Mendez.
It's too hot out there.
What am I gonna do? Sit on some damn beach while Rodriguez hangs by a thread?
Fax machines. Before email, this was a miracle.
There's this, or this, or this. And last year, thousands of Canadian companies chose this. The fax machine.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Indoor smoking.
Smoking or not smoking?
Smoking.
In 1986, the U.S. Surgeon General reported on the dangers of secondhand smoke. And the major health risks of tobacco were well known before the 80s. But despite all this, indoor smoking in public places was still allowed. It wasn't just restaurants with separate smoking sections. You could find people smoking in the office, at grocery stores, and even on planes.
The smoke permeates the whole cabin. It's bad for the smokers. It's bad for the non-smokers.
The tobacco industry knew of these dangers and did their best to suppress them and avoid further regulations. Health advocates won out. and laws about indoor smoking have since become much stricter.
I kind of feel like I'm in the bottom of a coal mine, like I'm an old coal worker with all the smoke a lot of times. I know most flight attendants do have sinus problems.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.